The legend of Babe Ruth's called shot is one of the most enduring and debated moments in baseball history. The event took place during Game 3 of the 1932 World Series between the New York Yankees and the Chicago Cubs on October 1, 1932, at Wrigley Field. The Yankees were dominating the series, having already won the first two games. The Cubs, desperate for a win, were playing in front of a home crowd that was boisterous and eager to see their team mount a comeback. Tensions were high and the atmosphere was charged with the energy typical of a World Series game. In the top of the fifth inning, Babe Ruth came to the plate. The score was tied 4-4. Ruth had already hit a three-run homer in the first inning, and the Cubs players and fans were heckling him mercilessly. Ruth, known for his flair and larger-than-life personality, was not one to back down from a challenge. With a count of 2 balls and 2 strikes, Ruth made a gesture that would become legendary. He pointed toward the center field bleachers. Accounts vary. Some say he pointed with 2 fingers, others with his bat. But the implication was clear. Ruth was indicating that he was going to hit the next pitch out of the park. On the very next pitch from Cubs pitcher Charlie Ruth swung and launched the ball deep into center field, over the fence, and into the bleachers, exactly where he had pointed. The crowd was stunned, and the legend of the called shot was born. Ruth's home run helped propel the Yankees to a decisive 7-5 victory in that game, and a sweep of the series. The aftermath. Whether Ruth actually intended to call his shot, or if the gesture was misinterpreted, has been a topic of debate for decades. Some of Ruth's teammates, including Lou Gehrig, claimed that Ruth did indeed call his shot, while others, including Ruth, dismissed it as a myth. Despite the differing accounts, the moment has become a part of baseball lore. The legacy. Babe Ruth's called shot epitomizes the bravado and showmanship of one of baseball's greatest players. It remains a symbol of Ruth's confidence and talent, and it adds to the mystique that surrounds his storied career. To this day, the called shot is celebrated as one of the most iconic moments in sports history, embodying the drama and excitement that make baseball America's pastime. The setting of Babe Ruth's called shot, 1932. The stage for Babe Ruth's called shot was set against the backdrop of the 1932 World Series, a matchup between the New York Yankees and the Chicago Cubs. This series was rich with context and history, making the moment even more memorable. The early 1930s were a time of great change and excitement in baseball. The sport was in the midst of what many consider its golden age, with larger-than-life figures like Babe Ruth dominating the headlines. This was also the era of the Great Depression, and baseball provided a much-needed escape for millions of Americans struggling through tough economic times. New York Yankees. The Yankees were a powerhouse team, known for their formidable lineup dubbed Murderer's Row, which included legends like Lou Gehrig and, of course, Babe Ruth. By 1932, the Yankees had already won 3 World Series titles, 1923, 1927, and 1928, and were well on their way to becoming the most successful franchise in baseball history. Chicago Cubs. The Cubs, on the other hand, were a strong National League team, but they had not won a World Series since 1908. They entered the 1932 series with hopes of breaking that drought. The Cubs featured talented players such as Hack Wilson and Kiki Kyler, and they were determined to take down the Yankees. Wrigley Field in Chicago, known for its ivy-covered outfield walls and intimate atmosphere, was the perfect setting for a high-stakes showdown. The iconic ballpark, built in 1914, had already become one of the most beloved venues in baseball. Its close quarters made for a raucous environment, with fans practically on top of the action. The Yankees had dominated the first 2 games of the series at Yankee Stadium, winning 12-6 and 5-2 respectively. As the series shifted to Wrigley Field for Game 3, the Cubs were hoping that the home field advantage would help them turn the tide. The Chicago crowd was known for being rowdy and passionate, and they were eager to see their team mount a comeback. The atmosphere in Wrigley Field was electric and tense. The home crowd was vociferously supporting their team, trying to rattle the Yankees. There was a lot of trash talk and heckling directed at the Yankees players, particularly Babe Ruth. The Cubs' dugout also joined in, taunting Ruth in an attempt to throw him off his game. The 1932 World Series was marked by a simmering rivalry and intense emotions. The Yankees were viewed as the epitome of baseball excellence, while the Cubs were the determined underdogs. This dynamic added to the drama of the series. Ruth, always a showman, seemed to thrive in this charged atmosphere, feeding off the energy of both the crowd and the opposing team. In this highly charged setting, with the series hanging in the balance and the crowd at a fever pitch, Babe Ruth stepped up to the plate in the 5th inning of Game 3. What happened next would become one of the most iconic moments in the history of sports. The aftermath of Babe Ruth's called shot was as impactful as the moment itself, reverberating through the sports world and becoming a central part of baseball lore. Here are the key aspects of what followed that legendary home run. Game and series outcome. Ruth's home run gave the Yankees a 5-4 lead, and they eventually won Game 3 with a score of 7-5. The Yankees went on to sweep the Cubs in 4 games, clinching the World Series title. Ruth's performance solidified his reputation as one of the greatest clutch players in baseball history. Charlie Root's reaction. Cubs pitcher Charlie Root, who gave up the home run, was furious at the suggestion that Ruth had called his shot. Root denied that Ruth had pointed to center field and maintained that if Ruth had done so, he would have thrown at his head instead of allowing a home run. Ruth's legacy, the called shot, became an integral part of Babe Ruth's legendary status. Already a larger-than-life figure, Ruth's ability to perform such a dramatic feat only added to his mystique. The home run symbolized his confidence, showmanship, and unparalleled talent, myth versus reality. The truth of whether Ruth actually called his shot has been debated for decades. Some witnesses, including Yankees teammates and sports writers, claimed he did point to the center field. Others, including some Cubs players and fans, dismissed it as a myth. Regardless of the differing accounts, the legend has endured, often overshadowing the factual ambiguity. The called shot is one of the most iconic moments in sports history. It has been immortalized in countless articles, books, documentaries, and films. The image of Ruth pointing and then delivering on his promise is etched into the collective memory of baseball fans. The story of Ruth's called shot has come to symbolize supreme confidence and the ability to rise to the occasion. It is often referenced in discussions about athletes who perform under pressure and make bold predictions. The called shot is a quintessential example of baseball's rich storytelling tradition. It encapsulates the drama, uncertainty, and heroism that make baseball a beloved sport. The moment is frequently cited in discussions about the greatest plays and players in baseball history. The 1932 World Series victory reinforced the New York Yankees' dominance in the sport. It was their 4th World Series title and part of an era where they would become the most successful franchise in baseball history. The 1932 World Series was the last one in which Babe Ruth would play. His career was winding down, and he retired from the Yankees in 1934. The called shot thus stands as one of the final grand acts in Ruth's storied career. Even after his retirement, Ruth remained a beloved figure in baseball. The called shot ensured that his legend would continue to grow, with new generations of fans hearing the tale of his incredible feat. The called shot has become a benchmark for great moments in baseball. Players who make bold predictions or perform extraordinary feats are often compared to Ruth's legendary home run. The debate over the authenticity of the called shot continues to this day, adding to its mystique. Whether seen as fact or embellished legend, the story captures the imagination of fans and embodies the larger-than-life persona of Babe Ruth. In summary, the aftermath of Babe Ruth's called shot extends far beyond the game itself, influencing baseball culture, shaping Ruth's legacy, and becoming a timeless symbol of confidence and greatness in sport.